my name is Ashley Beeson and welcome back to my channel, and today, as promised, we are doing the continuation of fashion characters through entertainment, and today we're talking about the movie characters, which probably are the ones that we can think of first or the ones that we know of mostly, and there are tons and tons and tons of them, but this video we are only gonna cover the 10 that I consider my top and most favorite characters. So without further ado, let's just get right into the video. I will have the TV edition either in the description box or maybe somewhere up here, but just like that video, this list is not in any particular order, it's just how I wrote it, so we'll just go down it. And the first one that I want to talk about is Clueless, of course, and I'm gonna put Cher and Dionne together because I kind of think, obviously Cher is like the main character, but you can't have Cher without Dionne. So Cher, Horowitz, and Dionne Davenport are the number ones, and of course with Clueless, it's literally one of the most iconic fashion movies ever. When people dress up for Halloween, I swear I always will see a reference to this movie, and these two are the leading Valley girls of the movie, and they're the ones that come from, you know, wealthy LA. They have super cute, very 90s Calvin Klein blazers and skirts. It's a very like preppy, chic kind of style, and then Dionne specifically will sometimes go maybe a little bit sporty, and then Cher will stick to more of that like straight kind of preppy style. But both of the girls are incredibly fashionable, and just like I said in the last video, they're like the up next when it comes to kind of like that fashion innovation of what a Valley girl kind of is in the 90s, and they are like the youngers of the Hillary Banks, and you can see it throughout the entire movie. And both of them obviously sport a ton of different looks. There's a lot of looks in the movie, a lot of similar but different, all very good, all very strong, and the fashion is an inspiration to today, and they just are some of the best fashion characters in movies, and that's probably why Clueless is such an inspirational movie for fashion and overall something that people do not stop talking about when it comes to the fashion game. I mean, obviously the yellow plaid blazer and skirt set, we know what that is, of course, and then Dionne's red, white, and blue with the hat, and I think there's a little bit of black in there too. Like, we know that sequence, we know those clothes, and that's what makes these two characters iconic, and so they're my number ones, and I'm bunching them together and absolutely love it. Love the movie too, but the fashion is really good. Next is Elle Woods from Legally Blonde and Legally Blonde 2. I'm bunching them together because I like both movies, and you get more fashion with the second one. So both Legally Blondes. Obviously Elle Woods is like the origin of the love for pink. I feel like that character totally just shoved like, you should like pink, you should wear pink, you should blah 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 with pink. And I think that like for most people that were like, you know, of the age or whatever when that movie came out, pink became a very big thing. I think it was for me too. But pink, of course, Elle Woods, pink. What I think is so special about this movie, or like these movies and this character, is that there's a very clear message with the character and with the movie. Not being afraid to wear what makes you happy and wear what you want, and still being a strong and intellectual individual, because obviously that's a narrative of she's like a Barbie doll and she's not supposed to be going to law school and then DC, you know? And it's important that that type of character, who is very much a fashion kind of Valley girl character, still sticks to wearing her pink, wearing whatever she wants to wear, but still like running through. And it's an important message to not be smushed into the expectation to remain yourself, and you like don't need to compromise on color or creativity to be accepted. You just do you, and it'll come when it needs to come. Like, you don't need to worry about it. And that's a very good positive message, but the fashion in the movie is the main gateway to expression and fearlessness, and the fashion is very good. The pink dresses, of course, there's a lot of pink. In the first movie, there's a lot of pink, just regular dresses, and then there's, you know, a little bit more sophisticated things, and then during like the internship, she's wearing a lot of nice, very like classic, still pretty, still super fashionable, just like darker colors. And then in the second movie, it's a much more classic kind of Jackie Kennedy type thing, which I absolutely love. I think I love the fashion in the second movie more than I like it in the first movie, but the first movie is still super good. And the sets obviously are just absolutely perfect. I love the sets. Again, most of those are in the second movie. But everything about both 1 and 2 is totally Elle Woods and her energy and her fashion. And obviously people today, we still love Elle Woods and her fashion because her fashion and the message was important. And obviously we've all kind of taken some sort of inspiration from that character. The fashion was good. It may not be a fashion movie and sequel, but it is very much in the DNA. And I love the movies, I love Elle Woods, and I love the fashion. I absolutely love it, and Elle Woods is an extremely iconic fashion character, and these movies were perfect. Next on my list is Jenna Rink from 13 Going on 30. I love that movie. I love it. The fashion in this movie is still obviously very much there, but it isn't like a crazy sort of fashion movie. It's a very simple but real and of the time sort of fashion. And I think that's why then and even now, again with like the Y2K stuff, I think that's why this movie remains so relevant in fashion. I mean, first and foremost, how could you even forget or not talk about the Versace dress that became iconic, and we all 100% can recognize the dress, the color printing on it, everything. It's the most iconic look of the entire movie. So, and it was a big thing. So first thing on that dress, I think what makes the styling so good is that it's a perfect collection of the character and how they styled it, because obviously the character is mentally youth, like is mentally very young, right? 13 going on 30. She's still got the mentality of a 13-year-old girl from the 80s, but the fashion is still obviously adult, but you can see the youthfulness in that fashion, and that's what makes it super relevant, I think. And a lot of it is just super good. Again, it's super simple and super realistic, but it's all good and it's all pretty simple and it all works, and you can recreate every single look if you wanted to. And there are definitely different fashion moments, from the floral dresses to the floral corset with the yellow dress or the yellow skirt, excuse me, the black leather look, obviously the Versace dress. My favorite is the like olive green set, which has like the chopsticks in her hair, and it's got like I think it's like a pinky leather jacket that goes over it. I love that look. But overall, the fashion in 13 Going on 30 is super strong, super simple, super real, and Jenna Rink was a really good character as well, and the movie was really good. And even with that character being a part of a fashion magazine and everything, there was still fashion very much part of the storyline, but I liked that it wasn't uber crazy, and it was very like, this is just what, you know, creative directors and magazine people in New York at that time in the 2000s, that's what they wear, and it works, and I love it. And I think Jenna Rink is an icon in the movies when it comes to the fashion. But it comes down to that Versace dress for sure. Next is the always very iconic Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind. Now, this one is obviously for us and for when the movie came out, it was very much more of like a costume driven movie, of course, but all of the silhouettes are real silhouettes. They're just from further back in history. So it is much more of a like costumey kind of movie versus like all of the other stuff, which is just movies that have good fashion in it. But you can't talk about iconic fashion and not talk about this movie. I mean, really. But this costume collection for this movie ranges like 12 years, from the wide hoop skirts of like the Civil War times, and then it goes to the early Victorian like bustles on the back of the like early like 1870s, and that's how all of the silhouettes are, except for the only historically inaccurate dress is the red party gown, and that is much more like a 1930s silhouetted shape versus Victorian. So that's the only thing that's inaccurate, but the rest is all in between that Civil War and Victorian styling. However, that red dress is personally my favorite. So I'm not upset about the inaccuracy because I still think it is absolute perfection. But this character is obviously just one of the most iconic fashion characters in movies ever, and it purely comes down to the fashion is what people first think of when you think of Scarlett O'Hara. The character itself is iconic, but it's the fashion. It's that red dress. It's the green, what is that? What are those called? Curtains. Oh my goodness. The green curtain dress that is obviously extremely iconic. And then there's like the florals, obviously the big hoop gowns, and then the off the shoulders, the blue and white, like all of the looks in this movie, even the stuff that is like what you would put over like the nightgowns and stuff, those two were also perfection. The costuming of this movie was superb, and that is why this character is so iconic in fashion and this movie is so iconic. But for me, it's that red dress that I absolutely love. But Scarlett O'Hara is a movie icon for the fashion because we all know it. We all know it. It's either the red dress or the green dress that people think of first. And that's what makes it so iconic, when you can remember all of the costuming. So good, absolute perfection, and I love the character. Next we have the most recent fashion character that I feel like has to be spoken about is Barbie from Barbie, the Margot Robbie movie that came out last year. 2023 is when it came out. I'm going to say Barbie is a fashion icon for the very obvious reasons. It's Barbie. But for this movie particularly, I'm not going to talk about anything else Barbie, but for this movie particularly, this movie was crazy. There were costume changes for every scene, which is normal for a Barbie doll, right? And the looks were all basically custom made because they had to fit the rules of what a Barbie doll is, which just added to the way that they put together the styling for this very iconic character of something that we've all grown up with and has been around for decades. And I thought that that was interesting to kind of learn that they had to build stuff out because it needed to fit certain color schemes, it needed to do this, it needed to do that, and they couldn't buy anything. So that was very interesting to learn. But I think too, when we talk about kind of just like why these characters are iconic, most of them, the reason or part of the reason as to why they are so iconic is because we as people, normal people living in the real world, can take these characters, take their aesthetics and take their outfits and recreate them for ourselves. Even if they're like over the top, you can still level them down a bit and get them to normal, or you're good with the over the top. And Barbie, for this movie, for Margot Robbie's movie, the fashion impact was wild. Everyone was wearing pink. Everyone was doing everything they could to kind of like give that Barbie aesthetic. It was wild, like going through the year prior to like the press tour, and then after people started seeing the movie. Like last year was crazy when it came to just seeing how fashion switched. Like it was like taking like all of the trends that we had going, like the Y2Ks and all that stuff, and then just adding a ton of pink to it and making it just more Barbie doll like. It was very interesting to watch, and that is huge for a movie to have that sort of impact when it came to fashion. Like it was everywhere. Like I felt like every brand was doing a Barbie collection, and it came from Margot Robbie's Barbie. Like that's just where it came from. And something else too, and I think this is important and a good connectivity between like the actual character of Barbie and Margot through the press tours. She did such a good job of like taking that character and pulling her into real life, and actually taking looks from Barbie dolls and using them for the press tour, for the premieres, for all these things. She did some of the best theming and pulling characterizations into her press junket stuff, and it was one of the best fashion moments in probably a while to see her pull those looks. And it's like her rolling up onto the red carpet and looks that I've seen on Barbie dolls is wild. And I think that is just a good like overarching additive to the character itself, because even just like the character herself in the movie, all of the looks were perfect. You know, the beachy ones, the camp ones, the snow one, everything, like making sure that Barbie hit every single thing, because that's what she does. It was a perfect fashion movie because it had one of the best fashion characters to be used, and I think they utilized the fashion very well, and I really liked it. I also liked the hair. They picked like a perfect hair for Margot Robbie, but I absolutely love the fashion. My favorite is like the blue set with the little bow and everything. I thought that one was cute, but it was overall super good. And of course Barbie is a fashion doll that they just brought to life, and it's hard to not add her into this list now, at least. So Barbie, ultimate fashion, because one day you're this, next day you're this, and you always look good while you do it. That's just how Barbie is. Obviously a winner in Margot Robbie's Barbie was super good in the fashion game, like super good. The next three characters are all played by Audrey Hepburn, so I'm kind of just gonna group them together. And obviously, like, firstly, just when you're like thinking about Audrey Hepburn, all of her characters are fashion characters. It does not matter what movie she's in, they are all fashion characters. But for me personally, there are three movies that I think are the most fashion, because they basically are fashion, but she is an R fashion kind of person, like it's always fashion for her. But the movies that I have are Breakfast at Tiffany's, of course, Sabrina, and then Funny Face. So for Breakfast at Tiffany's, obviously that character is Holly Golightly, and one of the most, and this has been dubbed like one of the most iconic film dresses ever, is obviously the little black dress from Breakfast at Tiffany's with the little crown and sunglasses and the necklace. We know it's iconic, and a little black dress, iconic, especially when, you know, she and this character is what basically popularized the little black dress for society. It's important. But that's obviously the most like iconic and known look of Breakfast at Tiffany's, but she had other simpler looks that are just as iconic to bring in that full character, with like her like nightgown look, or the brown look with her big brown hat, or the kind of like pale khaki look with her head covered and everything. Everything from this movie was absolute perfection, but of course the black dress is the most iconic. And then for Sabrina, and she plays Sabrina Fairchild, it is another very iconic film fashion thing. She doesn't have that many looks in this particular movie, but they're all iconic Givenchy dresses. The white and black with the big back piece, or the black with the little headpiece. I absolutely love it. But she obviously, Audrey Hepburn is usually wearing Givenchy in her movies, and this is like very much a important Givenchy movie. And I just think that obviously too, it's like when you think of Audrey Hepburn and her characters, it's the little black dress first, and then I would go to say that it's probably the white and black dress from Sabrina that's next, and that's what makes it so iconic. But it's those Givenchy dresses. And then the last one, Funny Face, and she plays Jo Stockton. And this movie is like the ultimate fashion reference, like from head to toe. That's just what this movie is. And it starts just from the character Jo is inspired by a fashion model of the time that was friends with the person that created this story. And Audrey Hepburn's character, Jo Stockton, is that fashion model. It's not an actual fashion model, it's the personality and stuff. But anyways, fashion roots from that. But it's like every other place you look, it is a fashion moment. Obviously there's Givenchy, but there's so many looks. The red dress, the yellow dress, the green look, the black pant and ballerina slipper look that we all know. We all know it. There's the black dress with the bigger hat. So many different types of looks just for this character. That's just for this character. There's others too. There's fashion models in the movie all over the place. It is a fashion movie, and that is why it is so iconic. But again, like Audrey Hepburn, it doesn't matter which movie you think of with her, it's fashion moment. These three are just my most favorite. Can't go wrong with Breakfast at Tiffany's, can't go wrong with Sabrina, and I personally absolutely love Funny Face the most. And all three of these characters are extremely iconic anyways, but their fashion is some of the most iconic things in film history, and it all goes down to Audrey Hepburn and how she was as an actress and how she worked with Givenchy and all these things, and it just made these characters so much better than they might have been, you know? They're just perfection in the fashion world, absolute perfection, and I love it. And then my last two characters are characters of Grace Kelly, and they're both Hitchcock characters, because her characters, the Hitchcock ones that she does, are the best fashion outside of high society, I will say. But like, they are so iconic, and these two characters in particular are probably the most iconic. And so the first character is Frances Stevens from To Catch a Thief, and this one has the iconic white dress. I'm not sure I need to describe the dress because it is so iconic. And then it also has my personal favorite, the gorgeous blue like Ice Queen dress that I believe is like the first scene that we see her in. I love that dress. But I think what I absolutely love about this movie in particular, kind of to the same extent that Funny Face is driven by fashion, this movie was also very much driven by fashion. For this idea that the entire movie was actually shot in France, obviously France is a big fashion place, and the plot was centered around high society and jewels, so it naturally just made sense for Hitchcock to do the movies and the fashion and just pull it all in together, and it made the most iconic thing ever. That white dress and that blue dress, and then there's obviously like the swim pieces, and then the pink number, the gold dress, the really big gold gorgeous dress. It was just perfection. To Catch a Thief is like one of the best fashion movies ever. And then Rear Window is the next one, and the character is Lisa Carroll Fremont, and this one is arguably just as iconic as To Catch a Thief, and this one has the black and white dress, which technically is actually that picture. It's this dress. And then it also has my personal favorite. It's a green set with a pillbox hat. Oh my gosh, I love that look so much, so much. But the movie itself doesn't have too many looks. It has a few, like, kind of, there's a gold dress in there somewhere that's got like white in it, and then there's a very casual red blouse with some denim, and then I think they're loafers, I think, maybe. There's not as many looks in this one as To Catch a Thief, but it's just as strong. And I think along with just how Hitchcock, they put so much of the styling and the fashion into these movies, part of the reason as to why these movies are so iconic is in part due to the actress who's in the fashion. And Grace Kelly is one of the most iconic fashion actresses anyways, and she is just full of elegance and style and beauty, and they just took that and put it into her characters, and that's why it's so iconic. And of course too, with her movies, with both of these movies and the other Hitchcock movies that she's done, and High Society and other movies, they are truly 1950s fashion and beauty. And for me personally, that is the way to win. That is like the best thing. My favorite thing is seeing movies from the 50s and just looking at the fashion. Like, I love the fashion in these older movies, and Grace Kelly is like one of the greatest fashion icons for this stuff, and so she just added to these two characters with these two movies. But they had an underlying layer of fashion back then than they do now, because not every movie, they'll obviously have their costuming and their styling and whatnot, but it's not always underlined with fashion. And these movies very much do, and that's why they're so iconic. And obviously To Catch a Thief, Rear Window, Grace Kelly characters are perfection. And that is my list of my top 10 favorite movie characters when it comes to their fashion. Obviously we have Cher, Horowitz, and Dionne Davenport from Clueless, and then Elle Woods from Legally Blonde and Legally Blonde 2. And then we have Jenna Rink from 13 Going on 30, Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind, Barbie from Barbie, but Margot Robbie's Barbie. And then we obviously have the Audrey Hepburn characters. We have Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's, Joe Stockton from Funny Face, and Sabrina Fairchild from Sabrina. And then the Grace Kelly characters from 2 of her Hitchcock films, Frances Stevens from To Catch a Thief, and then Lisa Carroll Fremont from Rear Window. These characters, every single one of them, the fashion's always different for each one, but they are all so iconic in their own way, and the way that they styled it, the actresses that did all of these things, the costuming, everything about it was absolute perfection. And there is a reason why they are all so iconic to not only just like film fashion, but to fashion people in the fashion industry and everyone that likes style and fashion and all of these things. They are just absolute perfection. I am biased to the Grace Kelly and Audrey Hepburn characters first because of the older fashion. I'm just obsessed with the old Hollywood stuff, and those are absolutely perfect to me, but all the other ones are just as good. And I do love Legally Blonde. I love those movies. And of course these are all my favorites that I don't think I could budge on, but they are also my opinion, and I would love to know if you agree with my list, if there's anyone that I left out that you find more iconic than any of the women that I spotlighted. Let me know down in the comments down below. And again, I will leave the link down to the TV one, either down below or up here somewhere. It'll be somewhere. But that is the end of the video, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!